The silent witness. When a promising career ends in tragedy, the questions left behind often leave a community in turmoil. Dr. Richard Blake, a renowned cardiac surgeon, had it all: the skill to save lives, the respect of his peers, and a bright future at St. George's Medical Center. But one ordinary morning unraveled his life and legacy in a way no one could have foreseen. The silence of the hospital's halls broke with the sound of footsteps as a nurse rushed into Dr. Blake's private office. He hadn't shown up for his first surgery of the day, which was, in itself, unusual. The door to his office was locked. Moments later, hospital security forced the door open. Inside, they found a scene almost too chilling to believe. Dr. Blake lay slumped in his chair, lifeless. There were no immediate signs of struggle, no shattered glass, no forced entry, no witnesses. A man who had dedicated his life to saving others was now beyond saving himself. A mysterious death of renowned cardiac surgeon Dr. Richard Blake unveils a web of rivalries, secrets, and a silent witness: his assistant Marie Langston, who holds the key to the truth behind the tragic events. Detectives arrived on the scene, piecing together the skeletal framework of what had happened. For a man this meticulous, this supremely aware of his surroundings, how could anyone have gotten close enough to cause his death? And why? Evidence was sparse, but one thread of suspicion would soon dominate the investigation, a thread tied to a silent figure who may have seen it all. Before we delve deeper, let's rewind and learn about the man at the center of this case. Dr. Blake wasn't just any surgeon. He was a pioneer in cardiac procedures, often embracing challenges others deemed impossible. He had risen quickly through the ranks of St. George's Medical Center, becoming a beacon of hope for patients and their families. Yet the higher you rise, the more often you cast a shadow. And for Blake, shadows lingered. Whispered rivalries within the hospital hinted at tension among his colleagues. Some saw his rapid rise as a threat to their own ambitions. Others felt his success came with egotism, a trait that could drive people to resentment. On the surface, Blake's personal life seemed calm and collected, but even the calmest waters can conceal treacherous depths. Amid the professional accolades lay a web of private secrets that would eventually come to haunt him and everyone around him. Every rising star has someone standing quietly in the background, ensuring their success. For Dr. Blake, that someone was Marie Langston. She was his trusted assistant, a constant presence in his life for over 6 years. Marie was efficient, patient, and diligent, qualities that made her indispensable to Blake. But Marie was different from most assistants. She had been mute since birth, communicating only through writing or gestures. To her co-workers, she was an enigma, a reserved figure with an unparalleled work ethic. She rarely socialized and was fiercely loyal to Blake. When Blake's body was discovered, all eyes turned to Marie. She had last been seen entering Blake's office the previous night, and strangely, she offered no explanation, no alibi, just a blank, piercing stare. Investigators were quick to question her, but her muteness added a layer of complexity. Was she truly incapable of communicating insights, or was there more than silence at play? Did the silent witness hold the key to the entire case? As detectives began unraveling Blake's life, it became clear that not everything was as pristine as his public image suggested. Rivalries among his colleagues came to light, most notably with Dr. Alan Crawley, a senior surgeon who had long accused Blake of stealing the spotlight. Though such disputes are often relegated to professional competition, Blake's rise had seemingly bred deep resentment in Crawley and others at the hospital. But the shadows didn't stop at the operating room. Evidence surfaced that Blake may have been involved in ethically questionable practices. Yet, the tension it caused lingered in the air. And what about his personal life? Hidden among his papers were signs of potential infidelity, a string of messages from an unidentified sender, each more cryptic than the last. That revelation painted a different picture of Chicago's golden boy. Dr. Blake wasn't just a man of science, he was perhaps a man of secrets. Detectives zeroed in on Marie Langston. Despite her silence, they learned more about her life, her struggles, her past, her connection to Blake. There was an undeniable bond between the two. yet its nature remained clouded. Marie's staff locker presented an unsettling find: a bloodied surgical glove tucked in the corner. It was Blake's blood, and though there was no evidence of violence, the discovery raised serious doubts about her innocence. Despite mounting pressure, Marie remained composed. Investigators attempted multiple methods to communicate with her, desperate for answers. But Marie's unflinching gaze and measured gestures only deepened the mystery surrounding her. What was she protecting? The investigation widened its circle, examining everyone who had been in contact with Blake in the days preceding his death. Dr. Crawley, Blake's rival, couldn't account for his whereabouts the night of the murder. He vaguely referred to running errands, a statement that provided no clarity. Then came another clue: a patient ledger indicating that Blake had recently declined to operate on one of Crawley's patients, citing medical reasons. It was a professional decision that seemed sound on paper, but coworkers interpreted it as a direct challenge to Crawley's authority. Marie Langston, who holds the key to the truth behind the tragic events. And yet, Crawley wasn't the only one with motive. Another twist emerged when detectives uncovered a record of Blake's personal assistant, a previous hire who had been fired a year before. That assistant, Patrick Riker, had sued Blake for unfair treatment and character defamation. Riker's words still rang, or perhaps echoed, *one day, karma will get him. Weeks passed, and frustration mounted, yet investigators were no closer to answering the central questions. Who killed Dr. Blake? And why did they choose Marie Langston's silence to cast doubt? Then came a breakthrough. A forensic expert scanning Blake's office found microfibers under his desk. Fibers matched to Marie's sweater. But crucially, layered beneath them was a trace of surgical adhesive, an adhesive linked to Crawley's surgical method. Marie, though silent, made a stunning maneuver. In the midst of direct questioning, she placed a letter on the table. Inside it were fragments of Blake's handwriting, alongside a scrawled postscript in Crawley's handwriting that read, *tread carefully. Her silence had been her shield while she gathered bricks of truth. The spotlight quickly turned back to Crawley, and under pressure, his calm demeanor cracked. Envious of Blake's success, Crawley had taken drastic measures to eliminate his rival. He broke into Blake's office under the guise of reconciling their professional differences, but when Blake refused, Crawley lashed out. Marie, it turned out, had entered the office when Crawley was there, witnessing the altercation. But instead of rushing to the police, she chose to collect evidence that would ensure Crawley's conviction. Yet, in doing so, she placed herself in the line of suspicion. Crawley ultimately confessed in a plea deal, unraveling his meticulously concealed frustration that had boiled over into murder. Crawley ultimately confessed in a plea deal, unraveling his meticulously concealed frustration that had boiled over into murder. Crawley ultimately confessed in a plea deal, unraveling his meticulously concealed frustration that had boiled over into murder. The silent witness was vindicated. Marie Langston's silence became her strength, a fortress that shielded her while exposing the deceit of those around her. For Dr. Blake, the shadows in his life came to light, arguably tarnishing the image of a brilliant but complicated man. This case highlighted deeper themes of ambition, betrayal, and human flaws. Envy, tightly wound like the strings of a violin, led to devastation and ultimately truth. This case highlighted deeper themes of ambition, betrayal, and human flaws. Envy, tightly wound like the strings of a violin, led to devastation and ultimately truth. As the courtroom doors closed on Crawley's trial, the staff at St. George's adopted two unspoken lessons. Rivalries forge resentment, and sometimes silence carries the loudest message of all. The staff at St. George's adopted two unspoken lessons. Rivalries forge resentment, and sometimes silence carries the loudest message of all. And so, the silent witness remains more than a tale of crime. It's a testament to the dark intricacies of human nature. What would you do if the truth sat quietly before you, waiting, watching?